Series 1, Episode 10. Let the lawsuit begin. Actually, the way the contract was written, the Coxes would receive title of the farm for $100,000 and wouldn't pay any principal payments for 3 years. The $100,000 wouldn't be enough to pay the inheritance tax, so they'd have to dip into the stocks to cover the tax. Also, the contract was set to be signed, sealed, and delivered 10 days before Claudia's 27th birthday. Everything was to be held in a trust for us until we turned 27. So when Claudia would turn 27, there would be no money for her, and 2 years later when I turned 27, there wouldn't be any money for me either. They were already actively trying to sell off the main house, so in essence, they were buying it for $100,000 and selling part of it to pay for it. Also, the executors couldn't cancel the contract. The Coxes had an unlimited time frame to get their subdivision approved. The whole situation stunk like a dead rat. I called my attorney. She told me to get all my papers together and write down all the facts I can in chronological order, including statements from Fred and T. Like T is not your lawyer, he's your grandmother's. Then go to this law firm in Port Jefferson and see a man named Mr. H. He's an ex-surrogate court judge, and he's the best person I could advise you to see. First, talk to your sisters and make sure you all stand together. All along, Fred had been working on Claudia, giving her money and telling her that the farm had to be sold. The only way she'd ever get anywhere was if the farm was sold. Claudia was very impressionable, and all his words and money was turning her against us. When Claudia heard about our plan to stop the sale, she immediately called Fred and said, "There's something brewing." It can't stop the sale," says Fred. "I don't know, it might," says Claude. I called my attorney and told her about Claudia and her ambivalence. I also told her about her tantrums, throwing rocks into her hair, banging her head on Fred Graydon's glove box, and denting it because she missed a train. Is Claudia sick? Does she have an illness, or is it just personality? Claude was now standing right next to me, so all I could say was, "Yeah, you could say that." She suggested we could declare her impaired, no problem. She also suggested that Daddy come with us. Men are so much more highly regarded than women, especially young women. Good luck. Daddy came out. We took a walk, and I told him we were going to try to stop the sale regardless of Claudia. I asked him to come with us, and he said it wasn't his place and it would look like he wanted something, so he won't come. Claude was a piece of work. First all the stealing and lying, and now not going along with our plan to stop the sale. It was all too much. She came in while I was watching MASH. I kissed her on top of her sick, twisted head and left for Guy's. We bought Chinese food and took it to the bar. Then we walked by the water and smoked a joint. I spilled all my collective shit on his happy self, lowering his state of euphoria to one more like diarrhea. After I let it all out, I felt better. Daddy called and said he'd come to the lawyers with us. He told Linda, our stepmother, all about our plight, and she told him to go with us. Great. Lisa, Daddy, and I met with Judge H and a Mr. J. Before we can stop the sale, we have to find out through Mr. J what is happening with the road. Our main problem is stopping the sale. Will be possibly the lawsuit from the Coxes for breaking the contract. Although the contract may be deemed unconscionable, they also failed to get planning board approval within 120 days required. So we shall see. I've been praying. I took Guy to work today, and on my way home, I took a back road and stumbled onto this road called H Road, with the same name as the judge. I hope it's a good sign. I think it is. I told Claudia all about the meeting with Mr. J and Mr. Judge H, that I was just seeing about the road in relation to the planning board approval and looking into breaking the contract if necessary. She said it sounds like a good deal for us to break, but then she says all she wants is her money. She knows it's a gyp at $50,000, but she'll take it anyway. I asked her if she trusted Fred, and she said no. Yet as soon as she found out about our meeting with Mr. J and Judge H, she goes and tells Fred. She's working against us. Now she thinks I hate her for telling Fred. How should I feel? I didn't know I shouldn't tell Fred. Nobody told me. He was drunk anyway. He probably didn't sink in. That's nice, but if it did, they could move the closing up and screw everything up again. We'll just have to wait and see. Originally, when the executors told us we had to sell the farm, we didn't believe them and went to several attorneys. Most of them told us we had no case. Daddy brought us to an attorney in the city who suggested subdivision of one of the houses to pay the tax. Then, early in 1981, before the Coxes went to contract, Lisa went to an attorney in the city who suggested we write the executors a letter demanding that they cancel any broker's agreements and take the property off the market. We wrote 2 such letters. Still, Claudia was being difficult and didn't want to sign. We called Dad, and he came out and convinced Claudia that she should sign them, and she did. She also hand-delivered them to Mr. T and Fred with Lisa. This was all before the Cox contract. Once the executors entered into the contract, Claudia had visions of getting money and wanted to sell, take what little money she would get and run. So when we started out with Mr. J, Claudia was back to the frame of mind of not helping us. Until we actually stopped the sale, we continued to get the farm empty of anything of use or value. I began working in the garden shed, sorting the shit into piles, not sweeping at all. Claudia came out and swept. Just her methodical way of cleaning drives me crazy. She found a treasure, a broken chip of some porcelain pottery. This was probably really nice. I barely covered my previous rage with a sneer. She saw and said, "You can't really appreciate things." It's all too crazy. Look around. We're on the verge of losing a beautiful 20-acre waterfront estate, and she wants me to appreciate a broken chip of pottery. Appreciate the farm, you hypocritical, contrary, greedy, stingy fucking bitch. Stop sweeping, Claude. At least wait till I'm done. I'll just clean here so I can push these boxes under the shelf. I left them there for you to go through. Oh, she says, continuing sweeping. I left.